Hi, welcome to Ketobiography. I'm your host, Robyn Dobbins, and you can see my guest today is Dave Feldman. This is only my second in-person interview ever.
Who's your first?
Matt
Dobbins.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, you're up there with the special people.
Feeling pretty privileged.
Yeah. So typically I would have a nice introduction laid out, but we're just doing this on the fly because we're here together in person. And I've been doing this series. This is number 8, I believe, in the cholesterol code series. And it's the 8th and final one in the series. And I feel like this is the perfect ending for that series. I do have some pending invites, so some people might still come on, but
You might be lying is what you're saying.
I might be lying, but it won't be consecutive. So I already know what's coming up next. And consecutively, this is the last one in the series. So a quick little get together to talk about this entire process, because today, in just like 2 hours, is the Dallas screening of the cholesterol code. In 2 days, but when you guys hear this, it's the drop on Amazon, the official launch on Amazon. So if you haven't watched and reviewed it, it's time to watch and review it. But you have been gone, away from home. So that's the question. This is a one question podcast. How has it been? What's been going on from CoSci, which seems like it was 2 years ago,
right.
but it was just like a month ago, to now, and just what's right around the corner.
Yeah, so this was poetic because of the fact that, yes, CoSci was where we premiered it, right? But only for watching it in a theater. So we premiered it there at the Beverly, and then I had some post-CoSci stuff to do, and then I went, you could say, on tour. We went to San Francisco, we went to Tennessee, forget the name of the
I forgot the Tennessee one.
Town in Tennessee. We went to St. Pete, Florida. We went to Chicago.
Durham.
Durham. Oh, sorry, Durham, right? Durham. Actually, I went from Durham to New York. I had to take care of some business in New York. Then I went to Chicago. And then, Robyn, I think it's poetic because this is the very last stop on my tour, right? Literally the very last time people will see it in a theater before it's actually available for, I shouldn't say everybody, not everybody around the world will have access to it, but definitely everyone in the United States, and Canada, and the UK, and Australia. We're in a lot of different territories, definitely English-speaking territories, because it's expensive apparently to convert it. But it's kind of crazy. We were just talking about this offline. We're just 2 days away, and it doesn't even feel real given all of the work we've done.
No, it doesn't. I have been an emotional wreck, I think, since I got back from Durham. I really have. Every time I think about I'm going to start now, and I didn't bring a tissue. Get it together, Robyn. It's been this anticipation for 2 years, but it just always felt like it was out of reach, and now it's here. It's happening. It's and it's going to be big. I feel like it's going to be really big.
It is.
Yeah.
You know, I think this is an engineer thing. We tend to lean into the prepare for the worst, hope for the best, but really prepare for the worst. And this film, I mean, obviously you and I have watched it a million times now, right?
Still think you win. You've definitely won.
Yes, I will win if you want to start keeping score. But that said, you've not only seen it multiple times. Part of why you've seen it multiple times is no one comes close to you, other than me and maybe Jen Eisenhart, for how many of these locations you personally came and visited. So I mentioned Menlo Park. You went to that one.
There.
You went to Durham. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you were also, what was the third location?
CoSci.
Oh, yes, CoSci. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you didn't have to go to these locations. Like you were already hosting yours here before that point.
I've insisted that this is my 15 minutes and I need to enjoy every moment of it. And so that's what I've done. If I could, like, if somebody called me up and say, hey, can you come to my screening? I would do what I could to do it. And this is out of pocket. So, going to Durham, that was all me. But luckily, Eric was a gracious host and took care of us while we were there. So, it's been fun. I've had fun, but I'm exhausted and I've only done the 3. I can't even imagine what's going on.
Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, you call it your 15 minutes. Obviously, there's a kind of a fulfilling level of exhaustion, right? Like where you feel like you went this extra mile and then an extra 10 miles and then an extra 100 miles. But I know you've got to be experiencing this by this point with your podcast. I've seen the comments. There's so many people who think what I thought, what I experienced. I've shared this before. I get embarrassed sharing it, but I want to, which is that your interview, I myself broke down at one point. Like it was so moving for me. And I can't wait until the world can see it as well. It's such a touching story. And it's a story that a lot of people are going to be able to put themselves in your shoes who struggled with the same thing you did and may for the first time actually know that there's more to bipolar. Maybe for them, there could be a specific answer that's more than just the one route they're introduced to.
And that one route, usually medications, is not a simple solution, and everybody thinks it is. Everybody thinks you get a diagnosis, here's your pill, you're going to be fine. But the truth of the matter is you're constantly being taken on and off of different medications, different combinations. And there's never just like an even in being, I was very sedated, but even that's not even. I was asleep or angry. There was no in between. I do like that because I tell my story. I'm hearing a lot of other people say that they've tried it, and it is a much more, once you do it, and yes, there's people that need medication still, and that's okay, but that is much more receptive, and the even time is way more even. It's way more, I keep saying the word even, but it's, I want to show this example that life can be more than just what the medications will allow in between when you have some alert times. And that's why it was important. I think that's why Eric invited me to go to the Durham one. Even funny enough that when we did the Q&A afterwards, nobody asked me a question. I was just standing up there like la la la. Dr. Westman asked me a question, but yes, I'm still here. I think it was more important just for people in the audience to see that I do exist in real life. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't need to have those conversations, and that I was okay. Like it didn't hurt my feelings at all. But I do understand how important it is to just be like, hey, here I am. Like I'm a real person. I'm not just this story on the screen. Right. And you can see that I'm standing here and I'm smiling and I'm not asleep somewhere. So that was important for me, and he's made it very clear that was important for him as well. So that was a good thing. So yeah, I'm glad that I've been able to travel. Like it's been like going to Menlo Park. I knew the panelists and I knew the team, but I didn't know anybody else that was there. And I didn't get 3 steps off the stage before somebody came up to me and wanted to share their story with me and tell me how much what I said resonated with them. And that's when I said, I started feeling it on my shoulders, like, oh my gosh, like being open about this for the past 8 years, 7 years has been really important. It's part of my growth, but it's been an important starting point for other people. And that's a heavy weight that I'm just now realizing.
Yeah. But part of why this has certainly been my experience, part of why you find yourself taking it on is because you had your own experience with being in the desert, not having those answers around. And so it's fascinating when there's data that's out there that's emerging. Big shout out to Metabolic Mind and the Bazookies for all the research they're doing right now, and already how much has been expanded along with the groups and so forth. But then there's just your own experience. Like there's nothing quite, I say this over and over again. You've heard me say this, and theaters will probably say it tonight. You've got to do both, right? You've got to both do the research, you got to get in the literature, but let's call it duck a duck. You can't count on it to just take off from there. It's not where they're usually focused. So you need to do that part, because appropriately we still need to be good scientists. But then there is this other part, which is the personal stories. And that's what I love about our documentary. I feel like it's just pitch perfect mix
It absolutely
between
is.
both of those. It's the study, it's the science, it's the stories. And all three of them, I feel like, are just this perfect blend all the way to the end.
Oh, absolutely. And it's compelling. You get sucked into the stories, and that, you think you might be going to a movie and it's going to be just drab, dreary, just like information coming at you, science, and you're like in a lecture hall, but it's not that at all. So I can't wait for everybody to see it. Hopefully by the time you're hearing this episode, you have seen it, you've given it a rate, and you've given it a review, because those are very important for getting a broader reach for this. So I do want to make sure I put that out there. If you have not yet given it a rating and a review, please stop what you're doing. Push pause on this, but come back. Push pause on this. Go to Amazon.
Watch it first.
Watch it. And
yes.
I don't think it lets you do it unless you watch it. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure so yeah, you have to watch it.
And we're not
And be honest about your review.
Exactly. Give whatever your honest take is. I mean, obviously I'm biased, but I'm so excited for so many people to see it, and I want to hear what they have to say. I want to hear what their experience is with the film. It's really amazing. And it's getting to meet you is one of the many different things I love about the film, because again, getting introduced to these other stories, who I relate to, because you go on this diet in order to deal with your cholesterol. That's part of the twist of the story.
Funny. Yeah.
Right?
The irony of my story is that is exactly why I started it. It had nothing to do.
And we can't
with
spoil
my-
anything else,
Yeah,
but I will say that was what the beginning was. So you did not go on a keto diet because you were reading Chris Palmer or the literature or any of this new information. You're one of those people who discovered it as it was going. So it's great. And I'm so happy that your family was able to also jump in to help tell the story. It's really amazing. So her Ketobiography is in cholesterol code.
Yes, it absolutely is. Because I've never sat in front of the screen and talked to myself for my own Ketobiography. I do stuff like make Casey do it for me. So
Yes.
that was last week's episode. If you didn't hear it, it was Casey's replay on.
Shout out to Casey.
Hi, Casey.
It's awesome.
So, okay, I said this was only going to be a one question podcast, but now I have a second question.
Go for it.
What's next for Dave?
Well, so obviously we'll see how the film is doing. Maybe by the time people watch this, you'll have some idea yourself. If it's got some legs, then we'll kind of play it by ear, depending on what comes out of the woodwork. Obviously, we hope it propagates a lot. A lot of people find it, and if so, we'll see where that takes us. Now, there's a number of things that I've kind of been putting off. One of those is we have some major developments with. I hope you don't mind me plugging them.
Go for
Own
it.
Your Labs.
Say whatever you want to say.
Own Your Labs is our company, and there's actually some feature rollouts that I need to oversee as it's happening. But the one other thing that I've been promising the missus for a while is a little bit of a semi-work period in June. So in June is when we're supposed to taper down a little bit. That's because we're about to have a big burst with the research again. Two of the biggest things that are coming on the research front. One is that we're looking at and hopefully going to have arranged soon an extension for those people we can re-recruit for the existing study that this documentary covers. the Keto-CTA study? And if so, they would be 5-year scans. And that would be the third set of scans. And there's already a whole bunch of participants who've heard about this. They've already said, please let us know when we'll sign up.
Yeah, wouldn't that be amazing if you got 100%
I,
there too?
yeah, don't count on that. Listen, if we could even get 50%,
Yeah,
that
it's
that would
still
be
data.
amazing,
Yeah.
amazing data. Then the other one is what CoSci was for. We've been doing these fundraising conferences along with raising money privately to fund this companion study, this study that will be like Keto-CTA, but the major two differences, one, it will have more relaxed eligibility. Since Keto-CTA had pretty strict standards on, for example, very high HDL, very low triglycerides, this one might be a little bit softer. It might even allow for some risk factors. We're finding out. That's still getting worked out. But the other piece is that there'll be a control group. So it's going to be twice as big, 200 people, and it may be 100 people in the main group and then another 100 in the control group. Exactly what the shape of that is, still getting figured out, but it's going to happen.
But it's going to be the same type of format, though. Those people would all fly to the same place, all get scanned on the same machines, and then come back a year later and do the same.
Probably. I can't say for sure because there's still, I can tell you the researchers like multi-center more.
Interesting.
So if you can have
You
it.
were trying to control all variables by having it all in the same place, and they're like, no, you can.
I'm a pain in their butt because I'm constantly saying I'd really like, for example, ours was the only study that I'm aware of for which we not only flew people to the same place, we had a partner hotel that they would all stay at for the evening before. Not a lot of people know this. And it's because I wanted everybody to be rested and fasted. And then the first thing that would happen is that they would get their blood work. And after they got their blood work, then they would get scanned. And that way we'd get a really solid fasted blood workup. And if there turned out to be any variables associated with the scan and like the timing of the day or how stressed you are or any of those things, not that I know that that is a factor, but if it is, I mean, the whole.
You just try to control for things you can control for.
Exactly. If there's anything that I've come to recognize, it's that your metabolic state can throw off lots of different readings. And that's also why I'm not a big fan of getting blood work when you happen to be in your doctor's office, whether you ate a meal an hour ago or 5 hours ago. I'm sorry, that's relevant. So usually if you get your blood work, I like it to be fasted so that you have a more consistent baseline to compare to. And that's how I like to do the science.
Well, it's a big deal too, because they travel to be there. So they kind of need that. I mean, it's probably not enough of a washout period from being on the stress of being on an airplane, but at least they had the same amount.
Exactly. And so the more you can make all of that consistent, the easier it'll get. There's also the possibility we do something that's like a randomized control trial where basically we might have an intervention like Zetia, which is cholesterol absorption. That gets a bit more expensive. It's a bit more complex, but we're exploring all of the possibilities.
Well, every time you get an answer, you ask 10 more questions.
Yep.
So this might be a never ending thing. I think you thought this was going to be like, hey, I've got a year's worth of data. Let me hand it over to somebody.
Yeah.
And
well, look,
here
this
you
was.
are, what is over 10 years later. Right?
Yes, it's over 10 years later. And this is just true. I kept thinking somewhat optimistically that, oh, you know what? There's now going to be more teams that are going to take this ball and run with it. And frankly, that's just not been the case yet. Like for now, I'm the one person spearheading more and more because CT angiography research is complex, it's expensive, it takes a lot. And I am getting more and more help, but as far as I've yet to have a lipidologist or cardiologist that wants to be a principal investigator, reach out to us to try to get lean mass hyperresponders. And I'm sorry, that's a travesty because it's amazing to actually have the variable of interest, LDL and ApoB, at sky high levels without all the other confounders that typically associate. That needs to be considered.
It's novel, and you would think people would be jumping on that, but here we are.
Here we are. There doesn't seem to be the level of interest that I would have hoped that there would be to truly test the most simplistic version of this hypothesis.
Right.
You know, does this really apply to all groups as would be expected?
How long did they test the children, and how many children did they test for FH in comparison? Because that was, I mean, that's kind of.
I mean, initially it was 2. Brown and Goldstein were looking at 2 children, siblings, who both had homozygous familial hypercholesterolemia. And that's a big mouthful.
Yeah,
but
thanks for saying it. You noticed I did not.
Yeah. And it's you know, we discussed it in the film, but basically they have very high levels of LDL and ApoB, and they also have very rapid onset of cardiovascular disease. So it's understandable why this was taking place 50 years ago, over 50 years ago, why that became very compelling data to suggest that it really is causal. But now we have a number of people, including people in our study, who have LDL above 400. That's in the ranges that Brown and Goldstein were looking at. And thus far, the data is not showing that association.
Well, I'm not a scientist, but it doesn't make sense to me that we've been treating this way for 50 years based on 2 kids with a genetic issue. And you now have 100 people, plus the other studies that have happened. You've got your comparison studies and all that, and we're still not getting any traction.
Yeah, to be fair, there's been more studies with children who have homozygous FH, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's not been a total, if the total number of those with homozygous FH that's ever been studied is less than 100. That wouldn't surprise me.
That's wrong.
And again, if you just didn't have any counterexamples where somebody would have very high LDL for a reason other than homozygous FH, I could understand why that would be a default position, but that's all the more reason why you would want there to be something that emerged that gave a counterexample that still had that variable of interest that's at that high a level. So you'd want to study it at a minimum.
One would think. We get it. I think the people in your LMHR group get it. There's a lot, you've been able to communicate to a lot of doctors within the ketogenic space, especially. You've been able to get people who are researchers who wouldn't normally do this stuff to do the research to help with that. Slowly but surely,
Yes.
making the traction.
It's a lot of dragging. It's a lot of kicking and screaming.
A lot of teeth pulling along the way.
Yeah.
I think it's getting there, and your work is well worth it. And as I told you last week, this morning, several times, it's appreciated. I appreciate what you've taken on, what you've let go of to do what you're doing. There's no way I could go to a doctor and explain any of this without having a knowledge of what you've been up to and the research teams have been up to. There's just no way that I could stand on any ground to have a conversation with a doctor without them just saying, nope, you're going on a statin and that's fine.
Well, I'll say 2 things. One, such heartfelt thanks for the very kind words you used. So Robyn, the context of this is Robyn wrote this very beautiful tweet that discussed me, and yes, it's
in case
been,
you didn't feel like people appreciate you, I hope you feel appreciated.
No, that like I said to her in the text, it's like rocket fuel for me, right? It's what keeps it easy, but not easy, but keeps it going.
I almost did like a little rocket response to you on X, and I thought people would take that the wrong way. So
yes,
crossed my mind.
but I said this to you and Matt last night, is unless it's somebody who's actually lived your story, I cannot imagine just what you described that you went through, that you discuss in the film. I mean, it's so much to bear, to feel like there wasn't a way out, right? Like I think that comes through in the film. I think that comes through in our discussions. And however much I'll have my moments where I'm like, I take myself to these mini stories like yours that, like I say in the film, if somebody finds a lifeline And this is the one thing, this cholesterol is the one, goodness, let's go get that data.
Yeah.
Right?
There's no
Let's
reason
just
not to.
get it. Like it's an interesting world we live in where it seems like it's a bigger challenge to try to identify a group that is thought to be high risk to find out that they're not. Because if that's where we end up, if we're ultimately finding out that a population-wide, this is not as high a risk a group as was thought, while still appropriately emphasizing individual care.
Correct.
Right? There shouldn't be anybody arguing what I just said, right? If we find a population-wide difference in what is expected, still focusing on individual care, why wouldn't we want to know? How could that be anything other than good news?
The problem is, from my standpoint, because nobody wants to know, that's just ripping hope out from people.
Yeah. It's and here's the thing, I'm gonna get a little bit on the soapbox here. If you're a medical professional and you're being dismissive of folks like Robyn, right, without at least being interested in trying to get like imaging to confirm or disconfirm, to individualize the care, don't be as surprised when the whole community is feeling more and more skeptical of medical advice, which is not what we want, right? We need to all get to the table.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. We can't let the treatment, Johnny story, what happened in that family. Again, you got to watch the film to see it. This is happening all the time to so many people. They are seeing results and getting like the ultimate gaslighting from their doctor because of an LDL number. And it just simply can't be that way.
Yeah, I mean, I genuinely believe a lot of doctors just truly believe that, right?
Yeah, it's hard to turn that ship.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, there's so many paradigms that are built this way. And I don't even want to state this with some sense of certainty that this one study is all that was ever needed, or we wouldn't keep doing more research, right? But I would hope that there's a greater interest that comes around. And that's where I do appreciate that the film is the other half, right? There's the research half, and then there's the getting the message out. And I'm really excited for a lot of doctors to watch it,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Like I guarantee a whole bunch of doctors are going to see numbers like yours. And spoiler alert, Robyn's isn't like the highest LDL number.
Just
in
wait
the
till
film.
the chapter after mine.
Right.
Not giving that away, but
Yeah.
yes, it gets up there.
It gets up there. I mean, numbers that people just haven't normally seen, and being able to cover that, again, mixing not just the science and everything else, but having these personal stories, watching people that are, working through this. I think that's going to make a big difference.
Yeah, I agree. The stories needed to be with the science. Without
Exactly.
it just wouldn't click for a lot of people. So it's very good that that's the way the film has been done.
Now it's my turn.
Uh-oh.
What's next for Robyn Dobbins?
It gets quiet again, I guess.
I don't think so.
I don't know. I mean, I'll keep plugging away at Ketobiography.
Good.
I really enjoy this and find it quite therapeutic, actually. So I will plug away with this and my work with Metabolic Collective, trying to get those stories out there so that the research and the doctors and all that stuff from the top down, and we can meet them with the grassroots stories and get this, pop the bubble. Get this information out there.
Yeah.
That's what's next. So I'm really passionate about that work, and really I've had to step back a little bit just because of, I don't know, I'm touring the country with the film right now, but it's sitting there, it's ready. I have a lot of stuff, a lot of ideas, a lot of things staged to get the stories. I'm really into the storytelling. So anytime I can get the stories out there, that's what I'm gonna do.
Also, I'd love to have you back on my podcast. So maybe at some point after June, you guys could work out a trip to Vegas.
Another Vegas trip.
You may want to skip the summer if you don't like the heat, but I like the heat.
I love the heat, and
we're in Texas, by the way.
Probably probably love that. In fact, we've been there, I guess, in the winter or early spring every time we've gone because it's been for CoSci, for me anyway. He's been other times, but it's been cold. Like the first CoSci, it was cold and rainy. I was like, I thought it's supposed to be a desert.
Yeah. So for people who don't know, CoSci again is our charity fundraising event dressed up as a conference. The very first one we had,
And my first time to Vegas ever.
and your first time to Vegas ever, was in 2024. And we held it at the Silverton. And something happened with the weather that in the 18 years I've been in Vegas has never happened. We had like a monsoon. It was just like raining every single day right on the conference.
Yeah.
Like it's like it was timed.
Yeah, because we had to stand outside for a brief moment before going in the
Yeah.
building. And so we were all drenched and it's okay. It was part of the fun.
And Vegas is not, by the way, built. We don't have like an extensive sewage system because there's no
There's
reason
water
to.
everywhere.
So there was actually water that was there was like a little bit of a puddle coming into near the front door. There's nothing we could do about it. But yes, that's odd. Don't worry. You likely won't run into rain again. But yet I had a whole bunch of people who didn't know Vegas very well, who for the second CoSci were like, okay, well, we're gonna bring rain gear. So I was like, you're fine. Don't trust me. It was a freak accident.
We actually had gone to Hoover Dam the day before, and I was like wearing a hat and like,
Oh.
I mean, it was cold because it was windy. It's like really windy, and the rains were coming, and you could feel it in the air, and I was freezing, but I got to see it. So there's that. Well, I'm going to be conscious of time. Y'all, we are going out to dinner, and then we were going to see a screening, and by the time you hear this, we will be fed, have seen it, you'll be home, I'll be home, things will calm for like 2 weeks.
Yes.
We'll see how that goes. But you will all be watching on Amazon, and hopefully you love it enough that you'll give it a great rating and an honest review. Anything that you would like to finish up with?
I'm looking forward to this being the last stop before the big finish line that comes in 2 days. And then we'll see. I mean, by the time this airs, in the comments, give us your take on how things went. It'll be exciting to watch.
Yeah, it will be exciting to watch. And don't forget about the Feldman Protocol.
Yeah.
The great long form podcast, that in-person long form podcast. All of the episodes have been amazing.
And we have Robyn on it as well.
Again, I do this. Again, yeah.
One of the best episodes. It's really amazing. She goes really in depth. So if you watch Cholesterol Code and you're like, oh, I want more Robyn Dobbins.
My listeners might be tired of me. I don't know.
You won't. It's really an amazing episode. And it was great. We got into so many different topics. And that's why I can't wait to have you back.
Oh, right. Yay, return guest. Woohoo. So on behalf of myself and Dave Feldman, thank you for hearing our Ketobiography. Bye.
Cheers.